Is it working now? Check. Check. Broadcast check. Yeah, working. Perfect. All right, I'm meeting you guys now. Mate. All right. Well, apologies. I've been talking to myself for the past 10 or so minutes, just to give you guys a bit of an update. We have had the qualifying done for the what I believe is the sprint race. Was it the feature race? I think it's the feature race. And then I found out that I was unmuted the whole time. Just to give you a bit of a rundown, I will be commentating, Viraj myself. Brett today will be racing for the F2 Nationals. He wanted to take this opportunity to get a run out, and I said I put my hands up, and he said, "Yeah, sure, you're gonna do it on your own." So I've been put in the bullpen on my own, which is great. And we had a bit of technical difficulties, as companies like Apple like to call it. And I'm now staring at race director, but we now looking at the laps. So for the start of the race, 13 laps, Crossy's in first place. He did qualify on pole, gets 4 points for that. Like I mentioned earlier, Jordan has qualified 8, and I believe Josh would be really happy with that. He does tend to complain a fair bit about how his second drivers keep disappointing him time and time again, and that he really drags his team to the finish line. So he'd be really happy to see Jordan up there in 8th. There were a few that did not put any times. Stewie McKenzie was one of them, and we do have it's lights out and away we go. I probably missed that. Yep, Brett usually does those things as well. Cross is in. He's still holding first, but Toddy's made great moves up into the first corner. He's up and moved into first place, so has Harry. Ken's lost a couple of positions, and Jordan's made up a position as well. That's great. I believe we also have, hold on, get my telemetry data on and everything. Okay. So that we've got different tire choices going on. The first two running mediums, followed by softs and then mediums again. And Toddy has lost his position to Crossy again. And another couple of changes happening. Harry's moved up into 3rd and 4th. Now they're fighting for position. It's a good battle going on for 3rd and 4th. Ken's lost a position in the meantime. Jordan seems to be holding on well to his 7th place. But Brett's lost his position to Fire. Okay, a lot of action happening in the first sector. Stewart has gained the position. Or what are we looking at next? I'll take you back to first place. The top 3 running really closely. And all 3 of them are running on mediums. The tire strat of choice for the faster drivers on the track. And then we've got followed by 3, the 4th, 5th and 6th place running softs. Okay. Let's run with Stewart, who's made a position up from 15th to 14th. He's got Josh right in front of him now. This is interesting. Oh, we've lost someone. We've lost 2 people, in fact. And Brett's also gained the time penalty for 5 seconds. Severe collision with Fire. So is that what's caused this incident? Fire's also had a 5-second penalty. He's collided with Speedy. And Speedy's on 16th position. Okay, what's happened there? I missed out on that one. But fortunately for those who weren't in the collision, and we've got Stewart going into the pits. Now he's going to go for a tire change. My instructions are to make sure that anyone pitting for tires within the 6 laps will have to change their tires again. Just letting them know. In the meantime, we also have Fire Shot in the pits from 13th position. I believe he also had wing damage. We also have Chain Game, who's gone into the pits as well. So a pit reaction, and also both what looks to me like McLarens from F1, but I don't know what their F2 car names are. They look like Campos. Are pitting, double stacking. Now they're all into the pits and they're all changing their tires, and it's been within the 6 laps as well. What is next? Surprisingly, for return of events, we have Jordan as the lead racer for what I can only believe is ART. Jordan is in 6th place and his first driver Josh Banks is in 11th. What a turn of events. He is currently about 4 seconds behind Jordan in 6th, who's closely following Ken. I believe this is going to be an interesting race. Stewart's come back out 27 seconds behind and a fair bit off Jordan 26. Yep. What else am I looking at? So we do have the safety car out. Alright, this is where usually Brett will give some of his fillers and a fair bit of information on how the F2 cars react or some sort of tire strats. Now, I am unfamiliar with F2 racing, so I don't want to be making stuff up on the fly. That's kind of like Mackenzie's job. He's the one who's able to, let's say, come up with really good fillers. For now, it looks like it's going to be an interesting race. We've got a couple of other tire strats happening. I'm thinking the softs could really kick in the earlier laps, and then the mediums start to be the tire of advantage. But the fact is that we do have 3 of the lead racers currently on medium tires, and I would presume that they would be holding the advantage from lap 4 or lap 5 onwards. I'm guessing they want to finish on the softs with less fuel and be a lot faster, and they'll probably also go for the fastest lap of the race, which gives them another 2 points on the tally. We have had one retirement, unfortunately, in 17th place. Cyril May, who I am guessing races for... Well, I'm not going to guess, I'm going to try and find out for us. He races for... I'm probably not going to even try and pronounce that. I'm going to struggle with that one. Okay, race controls given Ken Doyle another 5-second penalty. We have had a few penalties happening. A fair bit of it was due to the collisions that were happening in the top 5 positions. That's led down to a fair few pit stops. Okay. Mini map, track map, broadcast. Okay. What else are we looking at? We still have the safety car. I'm guessing all the drivers are being extremely patient. They want to be within the lines. I do understand that if you really tow across the curbs, you might be able to get another 5 or 10 second penalty, and I do not think that's what the lead drivers currently want. They're in a good place right now. They've got track position. They're on the harder set of tires, which will come into play later on in the race. With it being a 13 lap race, and obviously the safety car usually being out for 3 or so laps, it does take a fair chunk out of our racing time. Obviously the cars are a fair bit slower than the F1 cars. The F1 cars, I imagine someone like Stuart Mackenzie would probably put a 143 flat or 143.5 if the weather's not looking too good. Likewise for Josh Banks and the likes of Crossy and Todd. But it looks like the F2 cars are a fair bit slower with regards to that, and fair enough. They are different cars, different engines, and I want to see how the tire strat plays out for that. How much time would an F2 car gain with a different tire strat, and what the undercuts would look like. I'm sure they would be extremely different to what I'm used to seeing. Now the safety car will be going in this lap. Race control has informed us of that. And that looks like Crossy is slowing the field down. Now, is he going to slow them down extremely and get a good head start? We will find out pretty soon. I do see Todster in 2nd place trying to run around the edges. I'm trying to get a good line out, try to get a good exit out. Now he is in 8th place in the championship. Now let's see how he goes. Ooh, takes a wide line off the chicane. And we have a 10-second time penalty as we go green for racing. And Crossy's lost it. He's almost lost it. And we have a new leader in the race. Todster's gone ahead. He's kept it straight on the track. Well, we had a fair bit of understeer from Crossy as we went lights out. Harry's closing on, and we've also got another. Well, Harry's lost the place to Addy, who I'm trying to figure out. Addy Badamu, who races for Prema. He's in 3rd place now, and there are a few other overtakes happening around the grid. Hold on. Another change. We've got Brett moving up into 5th place. And, ooh, a little bit of a nudge there by Jordan. That's a bit rough around the edges, I would say, from the inexperienced driver. A fair few places being gained. Ken Doyle seems to have lost it. And so has Fireshot. I guess the restart of the race has caused another accident. And that's led to everyone gaining an additional position. Fireshot. Ken Doyle has unfortunately left the session. Was that a rage quit? We don't know. I do feel like his car is on the track. Was it a safe safe retirement? It seems to be said. We do have yellow flags at the moment. There are places gained, and at the expense of Jordan losing out from 6th place to going down to 13th. He's pretty familiar being in that position in most of his races, but it's unfortunate to see that considering he was doing so well. We do have yellow flags around the track. Is that another safety car? That does look like it's another safety car, and extremely unfortunate for those who have lost out. Josh looks to have a reversal of fortunes in the meantime. He's gone from 12th place, a measly 12th, something his teammates extremely familiar of, to now being in 8th place, right behind Andrew. Got a fair few people going into the pits, one of which is Brett, who would not want me to say it, but he did in fact hit the curb and hit the pit entry, which he has in fact done for his Formula 1 races as well. I would call that a classic Brett maneuver. In the meantime, Jordan's jumped places because of the pit stop that Brett made. And so has the rest of the field. Mackenzie's up in 8th place, a few seconds off Josh. Going back into 1st place, I can confirm we do have a safety car, that Silver Arrow, going almost as fast as it can, holding back the grid. And we're gonna go back to last place. We've got, well, what I can assume is Ken's well, it did say he had retired, but his car seems to still be racing. Fireshot has indeed retired through outside the race. We've got Speedy about 40 seconds behind. I wonder if they'll be able to catch up to the safety car. They all have pitted on new tires. We've got Speedy on 2 stops. We've got Ken on 1 stop. Brett on a stop. You never walk alone. I'm only guessing he's a Liverpool fan or a Borussia Dortmund fan, and I wonder why they are. I question their choices, just like I question that pit stop, purely on the fact that they indeed have to do at least 6 laps on a particular set. Chain Game has also pitted, and so has McKinsey, who is the front runner of all the drivers who have pitted, and the only person to be between those drivers who hasn't permitted is Jordan. And I cannot say I'm surprised. He has been really unlucky today. I'm not sure if he was lacking pace, if he was defending himself, or he just lost control of the car. I would love to know what had happened, what went down, why he dropped down 7 places. Now going back to the front runners, we've got the top 7 within the 4 seconds. It could be anyone's race, to be honest. We're looking at we've got all the runners running different tires, obviously. We've got Crossy and Todd running on mediums. Addy's running softs. Harry has gained on mediums, and then Young Lights and Andrew running softs, followed by Jeff back on mediums. I do expect them to pit next lap. We have everyone going into the pits who has not pitted already. Now I'm guessing they probably are allowed. Again, I'm not totally familiar. All I know is that they need to pit they need to at least have 6 laps on their tires. them pitting has meant that there's going to be a grid shuffle. We have seen Josh move into second place, right behind Young Lights Ox. The X I'm only guessing is A. A fair few grid shuffles. Everyone's going on mediums. Everyone who's pitted, we've got a couple, obviously those bidding on mediums has gone on softs on mediums. Harry is pitted and going down to 14th place. That's not somewhere I usually see Harry. It's taken Jordan back into 5th place. Now, looking at them, I would say, I'm guessing most of them have to pit again. But again, I guess with safety car, I don't know, I have to ask Brett about those regulations again. This is what the current data shows. Okay, if I go here, we've got 1 stop on all of them, 3 stops for Speedy. Everyone's pitted but Jordan, Jeff and Yang, who are 5th, 2nd and 1st respectively. Jordan's getting a fair bit of time, and I'm only thinking he's hoping for a safety car. A safety car will put him into a prime position. He will essentially have a net gain of a position. Not only can only know if a safety car happens, and if it does, if he can still hang on to such a position. In the meantime, we'll go back to the front runners. Josh sees himself. I'm sure he fancies himself a win. I'm sure he does. I'm sure Mackenzie's hoping for a win as well. They've both got the pace too. I'm not really familiar with light space. I haven't familiarized myself with where he is in the standings. Looks to me like he is in 19th place. And has less points than Jordan, and I feel if anyone has less points than Jordan, they're going to have a tough time defending their position. We do have safety car in this lap. It's going to be interesting how Yang, or better known as Jerome Nicholas, holds on to his position with a raging Josh Banks right behind him. A fast, ferocious driver who wants to be in first place and will have none of it, and expects the same from his drivers, I guess, which is why Jordan is punching above his weight. He's probably got an inspirational talk from Josh, and it's seeming to work wonders. Okay, just going back around the grid, we've got another DNF. You never walk alone. It will be walking alone to the grid. He has retired from the race. Meanwhile, we have had a 5-second penalty that has been awarded to Brett due to a collision with Ken. Now, that's interesting. Ken, I believe, had quit. It did say he'd retired, but I'm guessing it could have been a disconnect. Okay, interesting line there, Speedy. Not taking the curbs at all. You weren't taking the curbs at all there. And it's lights out again, and Young Lights has kept his position. He is right ahead. Dodster has gained the position. Brett's lost one, unfortunately. But Crossy is into the barrier. What has happened there? That is unfortunate. I was really hoping for a good race from him, but I'm sure he's devastated. And another 3-second time penalty for Brett. But I can't say I'm surprised. If there's anything that's been omnipresent this race, it's been Jordan flip-flopping from 6th place to 13th and vice versa, and Brett getting time penalties. Going back into the top 2 positions, Josh, sorry mate, you have made a position overtake, and I have missed that, unfortunately. That's what happens when you only have one commentator. I feel you end up missing on a fair bit of action because you don't have two commentators shuffling between the action. But I'm just gonna go ahead and see the gap intervals to be able to grab myself a few overtakes now. Looks like Harry's got the edge on Andrew within a 10th of a lap, and he's also, I'm guessing, on the better tire. Let's find out. Yeah, he is. He's on the soft. Is he gonna have Andrew this lap? Looks like it. We've also got a bit of a train forming. In the meantime, we've got Dot making overtake on Jordan, who's now into 5th place, back into 5th. I'm guessing he went into 4th. Crossy lost his position, and he's back down to 5th. Dotster, I'm used to him, used to seeing him there. In the meantime, Brett's lost the position, and that's going to be an overtake. Is it? Ooh, pulls it back in over Addy. Brett's really trying there. Is he going to brake late? Addy closes in. Brett brakes a bit later. There's a huge lockup by Brett. And in the meantime, Josh puts in a fastest lap of the race. Young Lights has received a 5-second penalty. In the meantime, Brett's lost 5 positions, and that's unfortunate. Harry's gained a couple of positions while he's trying to make an overtake on Amazing Hour, and he goes around the inside on turn 1. He's got traction. Oh, this is beautiful racing. This is what I call pod racing, boys. Except this, we don't have pods, we just have slower F1 cars. Okay. Just moving back, Ken has officially now retired. Crossy, by default, has gained the position. I do feel for him. He's had a tough luck there. In the meantime, I've got view from Speedy's car on Harry making an overtake on Andrew. That is beautiful. I just love that. And he sticks it, and that was a clean overtake, I would say. Cleaner, one of the most cleaner ones that I've seen from the faster drivers. I don't think Andrew can argue that one at all. Just going back, let's see how Andrew's going to defend that. We've got Brett right behind both Speedy and Andrews, and we'll see how that turns out. A bit of a train following, obviously, with Adi slowing down the rest of the field, I'm guessing. In the meantime, unfortunately, Jordan's lost out again. I don't know how he's ended up into the pits. I'm guessing he needed to have a tire change, and that's why he's gone, but I thought he got a tire change initially anyway. Seeing him in 12th place, makes me sad. I really hope that he can come into the points. Crossy has retired, therefore now making Jordan the last of the front runners. He's last of the only runners as well, perhaps. And if 2 more retirees would mean he would be into the points. We now ride with Speedy, who is gaining a few tenths on the last straight but didn't have enough traction there. Had to make a bit of a break. In the meantime, Toddy has made a... Well, I'm not guessing it wasn't an overtake. It was more an overtake on the fact that Chain Game had to make a pit stop. And there will be positional changes due to that. I'm guessing he comes out in about 10th place. Right behind McKinsey. Looking at the rest of the grid, Mackenzie's now in 8th. Brett's holding it well, about a second behind Speedy. He did lose a few positions, unfortunately, trying to be brave. And in the meantime, Speedy has gained a 3-second time penalty. Now, just to bear in mind, this does not where he would have to challenge probably himself. Funnily enough, so that and he's lost it, and he's gone into the gravel, into the green, into the grass, off the racing line, and McKinsey would be laughing as he's caught Brett with his pants down there. I can already feel McKenzie, his 6'9" stature, just jumping around, just absolutely ecstatic on how he gained that position. Had to do absolutely nothing, and just had Brett race himself. And that's led to another overtake. And McKinsey up in 7th place, and this is just beautiful. McKinsey himself was having a bit of a struggle there, trying to get the best of the track, trying to race off the track. But I tell you what, if anyone can race off the track, it's McKinsey. Learning a fair few things about traction control from him, for sure. In the meantime, we have had Josh make his first and I'm guessing only pit stop, which has now put Todster back in 1st place. I'm guessing he is singing the song of "We Are the Champions" at the moment, but I wouldn't discount Josh's ability to race. He has gone down to 8th, but he's on fresh softs against guys with 8 laps on their mediums. And that looks like a tasty battle just brewing in the final 3 laps. And I think Josh would be fine for podium, and I'm sure he's hoping for another safety car at the very least. He has come out of 9th place right behind Bill, who has absolutely no idea what's going to be happening. We should probably just move aside, I would say. And looks like he already is, and he's already only a second ahead. Just moving, I'm going to stick with Josh purely on the fact that it does look like the field's fairly spread out and nothing major is happening, and I think Josh is the one who's going to be looking at making the maximum overtakes, especially in the final 2 laps. Just looking at the current stature, we have had another retirement, which has moved Jordan into 11th place. He is licking his chops currently in the hopes that he does finish in the top 10. If there's one thing that he's really consistent with, it's the fact that he will be consistently finishing the race, and that's what's really important here, is that he wants to finish. And I can say that at the end of the day, if you finish and you're in the top 10, you're in points, right? Another 3-second time penalty for chain game, that still doesn't put him behind Jordan. What are we looking at now? We're still racing with Josh. He's not been able to put an overtake behind. He's still behind B, who's defending well, I would say. But he is moving a fair bit left to the right and to the right again, and I would say that at this time he probably should give him enough space, considering he's already made his one defensive maneuver for that straight, and now that puts him in. That puts Josh in P8, right behind Brett. Now, would Brett want to be commentating with me, or does he want to have an absolutely fast Josh Banks behind them? We will only find out after the race. But for now, he has Josh 5/10 behind him, and we are now racing with BU, with getting a beautiful view of Josh and trying to make an overtake on E-Rouge. We will race with Josh and see how that goes. And let's see. Oh, that's a beautiful line from Josh. Brett takes one good one as well, but he's a sitting duck. Brett's not even going to defend. I don't think he probably should either. He's got DRS. That's an easy as overtake. Josh would be happy with that. Next up we have Stuart McKenzie, but McKenzie, I would let you guys know he is about 8 seconds ahead of Josh. Now, it is highly likely that Stuart McKenzie has his own penalties. I do remember that he received at least one, so I don't know where that puts McKenzie. I can check if McKenzie has a penalty. We're gonna go to McKenzie and see that he only has warnings, so he doesn't have a penalty. That's my mistake. Neither does Josh. Speedy, I remember, has a penalty. He's got a 5-second penalty. He's got a 2-second warning and 2 warnings and a 3-second penalty. That might just put McKenzie up into a P5, if I'm not wrong. What else are we looking at? Okay, the rest of the field looks like it's gonna be fairly easy. Josh does seem to be gaining a considerable amount of time, yes, but is he going to gain enough time over 2 laps and able to overtake McKenzie is yet to be seen. What I don't understand is there have been a fair few people who have still pitted with only racing one of their tires for 5 laps. I'm guessing they need to have one compound for more than 6 laps, and it doesn't have to be both tires at least on 6. I'm gonna have to check back with that. In the meantime, Josh sets the next fastest lap of the race, 1:58.9. That puts pit stops here. McKenzie's gone in on I can see soft tires, which puts Josh up into 6th place. McKenzie's on fresh sets puts him still ahead of Jordan, who now has lost another 45 seconds. I know he's slow, but I don't think he's that slow that he lose 45 seconds over 4 laps. I'm thinking he has had another bit of an accident, or what I like to call a bit of a Jordan maneuver, as one would say. 2 overtakes made. Brett's not gonna like that I was streaming him and I saw him get well, I call it the banana overtake, not because it was Brett, but because Brett's in a yellow car and it was a split because 2 scoops of ice cream just went on the left and right side and overtook him, and he was a bit of the banana there, just staying there straight, doing nothing and couldn't be able to defend at all, which is now put him from 7th to 9th place. Brett, that's unfortunate. Looks like you will be back into the commentary box next week from the racing I've seen. I'm just kidding, but seriously. In the meantime, we're going to go back to Josh, who is now 5 seconds behind Speedy. Speedy does have time penalties, remember that. Now we are yet to find if that is enough to put Josh ahead of Speedy after the race ends. We will find out about a lap or so. Josh has had in the meantime, sorry, Todd has had an easy stroll in the park in first place. I'm sure he's probably on a messaging app, messaging multiple people. Josh seems to be like the guy, sorry, Todd seems to be like the guy who can do multiple things at once. And still have a 7-second lead off the guy in second, who's I'm sure trying his very best, but being 7.5 seconds behind doesn't really bode too well when you're the second place driver. That would, I would presume, be a very dominating first place win. Andrew has gained a fair few positions. I did see him start in the very found him in the lower echelons of the grid, start of the race, but he has moved his place up to third. That just shows the driving ability of Andrew. He is one of the faster drivers from Oceania, and it's testament to his ability that he has moved his way up into third place. Clean racing, I'm sure, and a lot of fast, consistent laps all throughout the race. A thing or two, I might add, I could probably learn from him. Now, Speedy is into fourth. We have had a 3-second time penalty again for Blue. Multiple warnings. I can understand why he does like to move a bit to the left, bit to the right, maybe take the curb a fair bit. Probably was taking a fair few corner cutting measures, and you might win some, you might lose some, Boo, and in this case you've lost out. And that might just put you into 8th place, considering Brett's right behind you, and Brett's now looking for vengeance considering he just got split like a banana. Going back to Josh, who's in 5th and now only 2.5 seconds behind. I do think Josh has Speedy's number there, and I think he's going to be calling him all night, considering the fact that he's now well within the time penalty. If Josh hasn't received a time penalty, Josh is in for 4th place. I can't confirm if it's good enough for podium. I don't think Andrew has any penalties, but we have had the finish. We have had Dots to finish in 1st place. We've gone Ali 2nd and F1 Amazing Hour. Andrew's finished 3rd. Speedy's finishing 4th. For now, he's had a bit of an accident, puts Josh into 4th place. Speedy's finished 5th. Jane in the next the start finish straight finishes 6th. Bu finishes 7th, and with Brett coming on the last sector of the lap, does that. Ooh, Brett's not gonna like that. Brett's really not gonna like that. He's finished 4th, hence off 7th place. In fact, he hasn't. With the amount of time penalties he had racked up, he went from 7th to 10th, and Mackenzie has made a beautiful jump, which I'm only guessing didn't have any time penalties, has gone up to 7th place and right ahead of Harry by 3 seconds. Brett still finished 4 tenths off Bill, but being 10th instead of 7th is going to be extremely devastating. And I don't know if he has enough penalties to put him in 11th place behind Jordan. I could probably go for a nap, come back, have some breakfast, take a shower, go on a date, come back, and still be able to commentate before Jordan comes down to start finish straight. That's how far back he seems to be, but time is a constraint, and he does seem to have finally made his way to the start finish straight, and that would be the end of the race. Whew. You know what? It's a lot harder to commentate on your own. It's much better when you have someone like Brett, who's the crafty of the league, who can help you along. But you have to learn, you know, and sometimes you just have to put the kid into the pool and hope it swims. Because if it doesn't swim, yeah, you take the blame of the kid drowning. But what if it does? You got the next Michael Phelps on your cards, and I think that's what Brett wanted. I condone any kid abuse, though. That I would say that. I'm gonna pay for that. I know I am. It's all jokes, guys. It's all in jest. Okay. So that was that. Now I'm guessing the next is gonna be the sprint race. Okay. I don't know why I have gained 2500 XP for that, but I'll take it. Okay, so that is the grid. We had a fair few time penalties for Speedy. For Jane. We also have that as the grid. I will take that. I'm sure while Jordan will be devastated that he didn't finish in the points, he would still be happy with that position. Stewart, I think, drove a pretty clean race in a Sperma racing car. I saw him a fair bit. Josh, I would say, was the driver of the day for me. A fair few overtakes, a fair few clean overtakes, I might add, and it's really important for the fast drivers to also be clean as well. And I think Josh shows that you can be fast and you can be clean. Okay, now I'm guessing this is the sprint race, or is it qualifying for the sprint race? Again, I am not too familiar with how the F2 um, drivers race. So we do have the next session, but I still am figuring out for myself what it's gonna be. I do see the cars lined up on the track, and the last time cars were bunched like this and tried to do qualifying was in Spain. It was in Italy, I think, and everybody's missed out on being able to qualify. And I'm only guessing that this is not going to be that case where people are going to be qualifying together. And I am correct. We are going to have another lights out. We have 9-lap sprint race, and it's lights out, I think. Oh no, I think it's a formation lap is what it is. I'm guessing it's the same exact grid we're looking at. So Harry's oh no, it isn't. I do believe I was informed that it is a reverse grid. Yes, but for the final 8 drivers it's a reverse grid and they get shuffled. Now that is because I know that Mackenzie hadn't qualified at all and was put in a disqualification, which I'm guessing, which is why the reverse grid has put him back in second place. Mackenzie's gonna love that, by the way. He's a fast driver, and he likes to have the clean air, as to say. He doesn't like to be bothered with slow people around him. He feels they might be beneath him, and you know what? Fair enough. You don't become the fastest on the block without flexing on the Jordans of the league, and that's okay. I have been informed that top 8 are reversed, and thank you for those that are watching. I really appreciate you still sticking around. This is all very new for me. In hindsight, if I were Brett, I probably wouldn't put somebody who's absolutely not familiar with the F2 circuit at all. But you know what? I'm enjoying, and I hope you guys are as well. Brett seems to be enjoying too. He's racing, and he's got a point to show for his troubles, and I'm sure he's really happy with that 1 point, because it's 1 point more than what Jordan got. Yeah, I had to make that one. Yep. Okay. Now we have Chain parked there. I'm sure he's enjoying the nice and quiet. Just you know, chilling. I'm sure he wants to have some pita bread and hummus. Yeah, it's not bad, is it? Being on a Saturday morning, just having fun with the boys. And I don't think Josh feels that way. I think Josh is more of the you either get eaten or you eat mentality. In 5th place, he's probably looking at a top 3. He certainly doesn't want to finish less than the 8th position, considering only the top 8 in the sprint race finish finish within the points. I'm gonna enable everything so that we can always see what is the Ian Gorge? I have no idea what the Ian Gorge is. I'm trying to figure that out for myself. But it's lights out pretty soon, and I'm not gonna do a crafty impression. Only some people can. I'm just gonna do a silent mellow lights out. It's lights out. All right. Now, any position changes? Let's see. Harry is still in first. Mackenzie's in second. He's got a good start. Takes it across the lane. Just feeds off Harry. A couple of position changes. Speedy has lost out. Josh has lost out majorly. He's had an accident. Josh has had an accident. I can already hear Josh fuming. And, oh, that's in 10th place. That's going to be an uphill battle for him. Jordan, in fact, has... I feel like there's always a reversal of fortunes. Whenever Jordan moves... Oh, there's been an absolute crash. Sarome has gone into the walls. Rouge is not for the faint of heart, and that I think some people should remember, that you cannot full throttle Eau Rouge if you're not confident you can full throttle Eau Rouge. And Sarome, for that reason, has lost out. There has been a safety car, and we are all extremely familiar with that. A Spa, an automatic safety car every time. I don't think I've seen or raced a Spa on the Spa track without actually having a safety car, reshuffling the grid or changing a bit of the tire strategy, of which I would say Mackenzie's tire strategy paid off extremely well on Sunday for the regionals on the F1 circuit. Absolutely beautiful driving from him, finished first, and Harry was right behind as well. We have had another accident. You Never Walk Alone will be walking alone for the second time in this race. Matty has had an unfortunate accident. No, in fact, You Never Walk Alone is perfectly fine. My mistake. His teammate, on the other hand, will be probably heading to the pits, considering his considerable wing damage. Speedy, unfortunately, sees himself in 14th place. Now, what is extremely interesting is we've got Josh and Jordan together. Now, I know how Jordan is, and I know how Josh is. Is there going to be a multi-21 situation? Is the faster driver expecting the slower driver to move to the side and say, hey, it's my team? Or is Jordan going to put his foot down and say, you're behind me? And it's going to be like that. We'll only find out when we are lights out for the second time within this sprint. But at the moment we have seen a bit of a change. Have we? No, we haven't. We're still second place. Not much happening. Josh has gone into the pits. It looks like Jordan stayed out. I'm guessing Josh was kind enough to give pit strat Jordan was kind enough to give pit strat to Josh and say, hey, I'll keep you behind me if you want, but you can have pit strategy if you would like, and maybe make an overcut on me. But he doesn't probably want to lose any time on the track, even if it's his teammate. And fair play, you know, you might be slow, but you should put your foot down. Brett has got another 3-second time penalty. Classic from the Banana Man himself. What are we looking at here? Sarome has left the session. That's unfortunate, but understandable, being not many want to be listening to some guy yap about what they're talking about, a race that he's never raced, and when you're already out. Ooh, that is beautiful, Addy, that is beautiful. Oh, a reset. That is a cheeky reset, mate. I don't know if that was legal, and I don't know if I can allow it, but who am I to stop you, right? I'm just a commentator here. Okay, what else? Josh, 23 seconds behind, safety car. Jordan, ooh, Totster moves in to third. No, moves back, has to give the position away. Obviously, I'm sure the same rule suffices, that you cannot make any overtakes under the safety car. And that's to stop some of us naughty ones who would say, yeah, safety guys, you gotta be safe, and we'll drive our car. Speedy on the softs now, and so is Addy, and I'm sure they'll gain essentially getting free pit stops. I'd believe so. Josh, again, I guess it's a free pit stop for him, considering he will now be right behind the bunch. Now it remains to be seen how much time they will lose behind obviously being behind the back markers, purely because you do lose a considerable time, even if ahead of you is slower and you're trying to make overtakes. The fast boys on the track, the Stewarts, the Harrys, the Bretts will be able to, and the Todsters will be able to gain about a second lap or even more, while the Josh Banks and the Speedies try and overtake the Jordans and the Bews and the You Never Walk Alones. Now we're looking at, I'm going to go back into first place and see what's happening here. Again, there's not much to really say. It was a great first race. I really enjoyed the battle. Josh obviously had my driver of the day for sure. Again, clean racing, setting an example for the rest of the field on what I would consider to be fast and clean, and you know, and just being out there, taking chances, taking risks, but just being out there. and we now have a fair few pits, people pitting in. Josh, I'm guessing Jordan would automatically gain positions on them. So I don't know if it's the right dire strat to be going into the pits currently. Wait, Josh has come back in. Interesting. Having pit already, he's come back in on softs. So I'm guessing he wants to finish on softs and started on softs as well. In the meantime, Jordan has got a time penalty. Jordan and Josh are going to be an interesting bunch to watch. I want to see how this plays out for sure. Again, I'm guessing the sprint race doesn't require you to do 5 laps or 6 laps on a certain set of tires, considering there's only 9 laps. Going back into seeing the top boys race. You know what would be funny if they're trying to heat up their tires and their brakes and they lose their back ends. I'm not saying it would. I'm not saying I would want to be in their position, but damn, it would be funny. That's one way to throw a race. I know of certain individual in a Renault once did that. I think it was Baku as well, if I'm not wrong. But no name calling. Brett told me not to be too naughty. Speaking of Brett, how is he going? Still in the midfield. P5 gets him a fair few points, but I'm sure Brett wants something. Well, I'm sure Brett wants a bit of a cheeky overtake on Todster as he tries to overtake Chain and hoping that they both can finish it with the slower guy. I'm guessing Chain's a bit slower from those two. I'm familiar with the pace of Brett, Todster, and Mackenzie and Harry, but I'm not too familiar with Chain game. Wow. Let me see where he is in the standings. Don't see him in the standings at all, to be honest. Is he sitting somewhere? Can't find him. Could be a reserve, I guess. Might be reserve. Yeah, must be. Okay, going back to the yellow flag. The incident that I'm guessing caused it was Sarome losing it on Uruj. I think I mentioned that earlier. And again, like, Uruj is such a corner where for me it's one of the most impressive corners, I would say, in Formula 1 racing, right? There's different ways to taking it, and you have to approach it with a different mindset depending on the tire, depending on the weather, and depending on your position as well. Now, I do understand safety car was in this lap. I missed that part and the race control, and that's classic. That's again something that Brett would have probably noticed and I didn't. But we are lights out. We are racing again. It's lap 4 and Harry is still ahead. Mackenzie right after him, chasing him. He can sniff Harry, and that's going to be a beautiful overtake if it does happen. Let's have a look. Ooh, TV pot, look at that. Come on. Yep. He goes around the right. Harry can't defend that. He's going to brake late, isn't he? Ooh. Harry leaves enough space. Just about. Harry is a bit of an aggressive defender, but over there I would say that was good aggressive. That's what you expect. That's the Sergio Perez levels of defending you'd want. You don't want to go all Grosjean, but you want to be able to represent yourself on a Sergio Perez level. Getting good line out. Ooh, Harry taking a bit of understeer there, and I think he would be dead to rights here. The inside line for Mackenzie. Ooh, that was a bit naughty. Mackenzie wasn't left much space by Harry at all. Mackenzie had to brake even though he was ahead of Harry and on that. In the meantime, there has been a few overtakes. Ken has lost the position out to Josh. Josh is now ahead. Josh is also now ahead of You Never Walk Alone. On the softs, everyone's dead to rights against the guy as fast as Josh, moving up into P10. Still 2.2 positions off the points. Ari would be his next target, who is actually has Jordan as their target, and Jordan will most certainly be and that's an accident. Jordan going on the green and the grass had to brake. He lost all traction, and Jordan is now into P13, and again, that is what I call a Jordan maneuver. In the meanwhile, Josh has moved up into points positions. He's into P8, and he's also had the fastest lap of the race, 2 minutes 1 second and 3:78 tenths. Okay, moving back into Crossy. Crossy's in 5th place, and he's falling behind the front runners. Chain Game actually has a fair bit of race pace on him. Take the inside, mate. Chain, the point of the race is to keep the car on the track, not on the grass. I would advise you that you might not want to do that. And in the meantime, the front 3 are going at it. Balls to the wall. Mackenzie still has his 1st place. He's keeping it close. A big lock up there puts Harry right behind Mackenzie, and Todd is really happy about this because he can spell a podium finish for sure. But is he gunning for the win? And Harry closes that option really quickly for an overtake, but Harry has gone exceptionally wide there. What else am I looking at? I'm looking at Josh Banks, who's going to be gaining a position extremely soon. On softs, with Brett locking right in front of him, leaving no space for Bew at all. Ooh! Bew, that was naughty. That was really naughty. Ooh, and that is now an accident. Bew, that was extremely naughty. Extremely naughty. You're in my naughty list, you are. You left no space for a man right next to you. You blocked his way. Not good. Not good. And that has caused a safety car. No, that's caused a yellow flag in Sector 2 and Sector 3. I don't think it will bring out the safety car this late in the race. It has, however, caused a considerable shuffle up off the grid, which has caused Lights to retire, which has caused Addy to retire. DRS is in fact enabled now, but we still are racing under the Sector 3 yellows. Josh has now pitted. Sorry, it's Jordan who has pitted. Ken Doyle has left a session. I'm guessing he was disappointed. I'm guessing he's disappointed from his and his teammates' race today, which is understandable. They were hoping for a good race. They were hoping for some points positions, but that's not happened. And something that hasn't changed today: the Banana Man, the Split Man, Brett himself has received another 3-second time penalty. Tell me something new, Brett. You don't enjoy this track, do you? And speaking of which, you have descended that aggressively well, but it does look like it does. Ooh, you cannot make those overtakes. Again, I would advise good old Boo to try and keep the car on the track, perhaps. I think it's important. I think it's important to keep the car on the track, but it's also important not to take your colleagues out. And I think Josh would be feeling really hard done by with what happened. I don't know what Mackenzie's on. I really don't understand why he's on wets. He's on wets. I'm just gonna take a 5-second pause. And I'm back. And I still can't understand why he's on wets. He's on wets. He's actually on wets. He's on wets. Jordan's on wets. There's not a raindrop inside. Not a raindrop in the country. No raindrops in Europe. And he's on wets. Moving on, we have Mackenzie still leading the race, locking up there in the first corner, but still 2 seconds ahead. Harry looks like he's got Todd right in front of him. He should have DRS. Josh gets back into points positions, and right behind, I'm guessing, well, not right behind for sure. He's about 6.5 seconds behind Bill, but I think with his pace and the tire he's on, he might be able to get a fair few seconds off Bill, and I'm sure Bill has a fair few penalties as well of his own accord. Brett's holding firm. He's defending well, taking the line well, and that's good. You Never Walk Alone has got a 3-second time penalty in the meanwhile. I'm gonna go back to Harry and see how he's doing, and ooh, Harry is not. I'm sure he's fast. I just don't think he has the race pace to be able to overtake Todd today, and that's probably because Todd is a fast driver himself, and it's exceptionally hard to make an overtake against a guy who's fast and can defend well. And I'm sure the dirty air is not helping Harry either. That's nothing to take away from Harry's race pace today. A podium, a fine finish. But Mackenzie seems to have taken this away. He's now outside the DRS zone. He seems to lock a fair bit here and there. But he is showing that he's the man to beat on the sprint race today. Josh is now gaining about 1.5 seconds a lap. He's now 5 seconds off Bu, who's again right behind Brett, who will be serving a fair few time penalties. Moving on to Jordan and his story on wets. He has now gone on softs. Let's just understand what Jordan did. Jordan went on wets. I'm gonna let that simmer for a bit. Okay. Back onto the positions. We've got another change happening. No, we don't. An overtake maneuver was made by Harry, but that was negated by Crossy defending it well and gaining that position back. I'm going to run with TV pod camera angle to see if he can pull off this with DRS and the overtake on Crossy. Goes around the outside. I think he has it. He does. That's a good overtake by Harry. He does have the race pace today, and that shows. But that's Crossy he's overtaken, not Josh, not Dodster, my bad. Which does mean maybe Crossy's losing out a bit on his pace, or maybe his tires aren't lasting well. He might have been a bit too aggressive on the tires, but we don't know that for sure. Now, looking at the rest of the grid, we've got B, who's finally made an overtake. I don't know if it was a correct overtake or a legal overtake. I know that B loves to race aggressively. His incident against Josh shows otherwise, and that is another one. That is 2 incidents by Bu. One against Brett and the other one against Josh, not leaving enough space. And as a commentator, and as purely as a commentator, it really does break my heart when I see aggressive driving, when everyone's fighting for points and everyone's putting their hearts out. It isn't on the drivers when they actually block a pathway to a driver that they have the right to take. And having seen that by Bu twice on the stream live, it's unfortunate that that's happening. But moving on, we now have Josh in 7th place, who has now moved up from Brett due to that incident between Brett and Bu. Brett's gonna have Bu gonna be having B to overtake in a fair few seconds. I imagine there is another 5-second penalty. I believe Speedy got that. He's right outside the points place, and it's not gonna help. He would have probably been into the points considering Brett's penalties, but the fact that Speedy got penalties. Oh, and we do have, there's some good pod racing happening here. And both defending well, absolutely. Space. Now this is what I call good defending, and as well as leaving enough space for the other racing drivers. Like look at that. Enough space for both of them. Clean racing, and that's beautiful racing, I must add. Dodster fast enough to be the front runner in the race. Tried to pull an overtake and almost did, but Stuart Mackenzie says, I'm having none of that. Me and my 6'9" frame will have none of that. He says he has a family to feed, and you know what? Fair enough. But in saying that, Dodster with that line and having more traction outside that corner has made an overtake and has stuck, which has put Mackenzie in 2nd place. I'm sure he's fuming that he's lost out on a win, but I'm sure he's putting his hands up and saying, well done, mate, well done. Moving back on Jordan, he seems to have realized that softs does seems to be a better tire strategy than wets. I'm sure it took a fair few laps for him to find out whether wets would be giving him an advantage, but it's great that he has seen the light. Meanwhile, Brett has, I think, had another accident. I'm guessing there was considerable damage on his car due to the incident with Bew, which has led to him having lost control, having considerable wing damage, and losing out on positions, which was also the final points position. With Bew again, it looks like there was a bit of an aggressiveness there. I don't know what has in fact happened, but Bew seems to have moved back into 6th place and Josh is back down to 7. I'm only guessing there was another fair bit of aggressive. Now we had the finish happening, and I believe I've missed it out, but we do have the finish. Dodster has finished first, Stuart McKenzie's finished second, Crossy third, Harry fourth, Jane fifth, Bew's finished sixth, Josh seventh, Speedy in the final points position in 8th. 9th, Brett, and I'm gonna go back, have some lunch, come back, and Jordan will still be there. He'll be finishing 10th, and he'd only be hoping for about a 140-second time penalty for Brett to be back into 9th place. But while stranger things have happened, and let's see if that happens. Great racing, I would say. The front runners, Todd and Stuart, amazing racing. Had the whole race. I'm gonna try and get them on the stream. Let me see if I can grab them. So the front runners, I'm gonna hold on. I'm gonna go and try and grab a couple of the guys, then get their opinions on the racing. Unmute Mackenzie, I have you here. I'm also gonna try and grab Todd, who you were racing with. Mackenzie and Todd. I put Ken on instead by mistake. Sorry. Todd, you there? Hey, you're both live. Just letting you guys know. Great racing from both of you. Tell me more about that overtake that you made, Todd. What were you thinking when you made that overtake, and then Mackenzie got the place right back, but then you overtook again and made it stick. It was great racing, by the way, I must add. But what was going on in your mind at that time?
Todd, you go first, mate.
I just wanted to get in front of Mackenzie because it was obviously the last lap of the race.
Yeah.
I knew it was now or never, and obviously I didn't get close enough on the DRS. Well, I did get close enough, but I didn't get close enough to 100% get past him on the DRS straight. So I had to pull off some moves, and yeah.
Well, good job, man. That was good racing. Did you feel like you were the faster driver of the two today?
Oh, definitely.
Definitely. Well, good stuff, man. I'm gonna put the question to to Mackenzie. Mackenzie, I did see that you were defending well, but did you feel like today you may not have had the race pace to finish first?
Were you finishing something, or? Yeah, no, sorry for the interruption.
Yeah, go for it.
I was basically just trying to consolidate. Obviously, had a pretty poor race one, and needed to need to claw some points back. Obviously, Andrew left right before the second race started, so I knew that like a decent amount of points all would extend that championship lead back out to what it was before the sprint race. Before the feature race. So yeah, no, GG's to Toddy. It was close wheel-to-wheel action, but yeah, no, I basically let him go coming onto that back straight because I was going to try to send something into the last chicane and almost pulled it off, but yeah, I was nudged his rear, put him in a half spin, and then nudged him back around to just make sure he at least consolidated the win, because he drove. Like the fact that he closed 2 or 3 seconds down within like a lap and a half was pretty rapid pace from him. So he definitely deserved that win, and I was just happy I could lend him a helping hand on that.
Well, I'll tell you what, it was great racing. It felt like you had enough pace to be on the podium. It's a pity that you might not have finished first, but you did deserve to be on the podium, and congrats on that. And I'll tell you that it was good, clean defending, and then you guys left enough space for both each other, and that was good and respectful. I'll thank you for such a competitive race. I will let you guys be, and I will close the stream on that note. Thank you for everyone who have been witnessing the round 13 for the F2 for Nationals for Trans Nation. I'm now trying to figure out how I close this stream. Did you want to help me with that? Perfect. Cheers, mate. I'm on broadcast and it doesn't. Perfect. Cheers.